So this is a story for boys who dare to be different, and it's full of very interesting tales. The one I've selected is about King George VI. George never expected to be king. It was supposed to be his older brother Edward who took the throne when their father died. And he did, for a while, until he fell in love with a woman who he wasn't allowed to marry. So he stepped down, and George was forced to take his place. Growing up, George was often frightened, often crying, and often sick. He also had a stammer, which made it difficult for him to speak, and because of that, he became embarrassed and shy. The day he found out he was to be king was terrifying. He went to visit his mother, and he wrote in his diary, "When I told her what had happened, I broke down and sobbed uncontrollably." One of the things he was most worried about was having to talk in front of people. It was an age when the radio was becoming popular, and the royal family would have to use it to communicate with their people. To try and prepare him, George was sent to see a speech therapist called Lionel Oak. Lionel believed that the only reason George found it difficult to speak in public was because he was so worried about how he sounded. He thought that if George couldn't hear himself, he wouldn't need to be worried, and he wouldn't stammer. To test his idea, Lionel put headphones on George, loudly played music into them, and gave him a speech to read. George was frustrated because he didn't think it was working, and stormed out. Later, when he listened to a recording, he found that he wasn't stammering at all. With Lionel's help, George gave speeches in public, opened Parliament, and announced to the British people that Britain had decided to go to war with Germany. He stayed friends with Lionel for the rest of his life, and ended up being one of the best-loved kings that England had ever had.